Okay, so today we're going to talk about a little bit about the place value chart, but mainly about number forms. You can see the place value chart is behind me, and we're going to use that to talk about number forms today. So there's three main number forms that we work with in 5th grade, and that's standard form, which is just simply the numbers, and expanded form, which is using the place value chart to expand out those numbers, and then word form or written form, which is it's actually you write the words out just like you would say it. So we're going to talk about expanded form first. As you can see, my example here, and it's also the example that you have in your notebook, is 17,234. And if you remember, I said expanded form, you use the place value chart and the place value of the numbers to expand out the number. And you want to do this because it really helps you understand the number, the value of each digit in the number better. And can also be helpful if you're doing multi-digit multiplication and you're having trouble. So let's take a look at this. This one is 17,234. The first digit that we have is a 1, and the place value that it's in is the 10,000s. And you can see it because it's two spaces to the left of the first comma. So although we don't have a decimal in here, we know that hiding behind every whole number is a decimal. And so if you look, here would be our decimal, 3 spaces, and then you had 2 more, which is 10,000. So the 1 is in the 10,000 space, and you can see here it is again. The 1 is in the 10,000 place, which becomes 10,000. The 7 is in the thousands place, which you can see there is 7,000. The 2 is in the hundreds place, which is 200. The 3 is in the tens place, and if you have 3 tens, you really have 30. And then the 4 is in the ones place. You can see that goes there. So in this case, if you added all these numbers up, 10,000 plus 7,000 plus 200 plus 30 plus 4, you would end up with 17,234. Let's take a look at what it looks like when you have a decimal. As you can see in this one, we have 1 digit and then the decimal. Well, here, right before the decimal, just to the left of the decimal, is the ones place. So this is just simply 3 ones. Then you have tenths, and in this case, because whenever we have a decimal, we always put a placeholder 0 there to go in front of the decimal. 5 tenths, and you can see the 5 is in the tenths place, which is just to the right of the decimal. In this case, we have our placeholder 0 again, our decimal, and this time the 6 is in the hundredths place, so we have a 6 2 places to the right of the decimal. And last, we have a 2, which is in the thousandths place. In this 2, we have, here's our placeholder 0, the decimal, tenths place, hundredths place, and then finally the 2 is in the thousandths place. You see both those examples in your notebook. Now go ahead and pick up your pencils, and we're going to do one together. This one up top. Let's read it first. First we have 4,326 and 52 hundredths. So let's start with the 4. What place value is it in? Well, hopefully you said it's in the thousandth place. So we're going to write this as 4,000. We need to add to that the 3, which is in the hundredths place. This is 300. The value of that 3 is 3 hundredths. The value of this 2 is in the tens place. What's 2 tens? It's 20. This 6, right just to the left of the decimal, is in the ones place. Now, we get to the right of the decimal. The first place to the right of the decimal is the tenths place. We want to write that 5 in the tenths place. Remember, we need to put a placeholder 0 first, then our decimal, and then 5 tenths. Last one, as we want to do 2, and it's in the hundredths place. So we got to do our placeholder 0, a 0 for the tenths place, and then a 2 for the hundredths place. So that's one we did together. Now I want you to take a look at this, pause the video, and try and write it by yourself in expanded form. Okay, well hopefully you have unpaused the video now, and we'll go over it. This first 9 is in the 10,000ths place, so it's 90,000. The 3 is in the thousands place, so it's 3,000. The 4 is in the hundreds place, so it's 400. The 6 is in the tens place, so it's 60. The 5 is in the ones place, so it's simply 5. And the 3 is in the tenths place, so it's placeholder 0, decimal 3. Alright, so that is expanded form. It's simply using the place value to expand out the numbers. You're always going to make sure you write the number and the place value it is, and everything else becomes zeros. Now that we've talked about expanded form, let's talk about word form. Word form is where you write it exactly like you say it, one period at a time. If we look at our place value chart, each different color I have up here is a different period. For example, this is the billions period because you have 100 billions, 10 billions, 1 billion. This is the millions period because you have 100 millions, 10 millions, 1 million. This is the thousands period because it has 100,000s, 10,000s, 1,000. This is the ones period because it has hundreds, tens, and ones. And then over here to the right of the decimal, we have our parts of a whole. So we have tenths, hundredths, and thousands. This is a little bit different. We'll talk about this in just a second. All right, so let's take a look. We're saying at one period at a time. So our first period, our periods are always separated by commas. So our first period is our, if we look over, let's see, this first period is the ones, the second period is the thousands. So this is the millions. So we'd say 25 million, 25 million. Then we'd say our next period, you can just read this part, 179, and what period is it? Thousand. So it's 179,000. Now this period, you don't say ones at the end. The other periods you do. Billions, when you come to the comma, you say billions. Millions, when you come to the comma, you say millions. Thousands, when you come to the comma, you say thousands. But the ones period, you don't say one at the end. You just would say the number. If there's a decimal after it, which there is here, for this decimal, you'd say the word and. So, we're just going to say the number, which is 36, and here it is, 36. And what do we say when we come to the decimal? And. There it is, and. Now for the parts of the whole, for the decimal over here, you're just going to say whatever number is there, which in this case is 5, and then you're going to name the place value that it ends in. In this case, it ends in the tenths place. There's no hundredths, there's no thousands. It ends in the tenths place, so we'd say 5 tenths. So you look at that again. It's 25,179,036 and 5 tenths. You have that in your notebook. Now everybody, let's look at the one that we're going to do together. Okay, remember we do it one period at a time. So let's take a look at our first period. If you're unsure which period it is, look here. Here's the decimal. So to the left of it would be the ones period. One more would be the thousands period. So in this case, we'd say 42,000. So let's write that. Whoops, 40 does not have a 42,000. That's this period here. And we need to do in the next period. Read the whole number, which is 356. And if you remember what I said about the ones period is we don't say ones, but if there's something after it, which there is here, we'd say and for the decimal. Now we got to read this all together, which that number is simply 17. Now what place value does this end in? The hundredths place. So we were going to name that 17 hundredths. And that's it. 42,356 and 17 hundredths. All right, now I want you to take a look at the one on the bottom, and I want you to give that a try on your own. So go ahead and pause the video. All right, so hopefully you have had a chance to write this out, and now we're going to go over it. Remember, we read our first period, so that number is simply 5 and then 1,000. So we got to do 5,000. Read our next period, which is 899. And last period, we got to read the whole thing. 615. And what place value does the 615 end in? The thousandths place. So we're going to put thousands. And we're done. This is word form or written form. So hopefully that helps you understand. Remember, standard form is simply the numbers. This is written in standard form. Expanded form is when we add all those zeros because we're expanding it out. And then finally we do word form, which is writing it exactly like we would say it.